What's going on, lads? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be checking out Loathe. I let it in and it took everything. Not only has it been highly requested over the past like 2.5 weeks or so since we started checking out North Lane, Hornhill, people have just been flocking to the comment section and saying, you know, check out Loathe, check out Loathe. I don't know what happens with these videos. Like, all of a sudden armies of people just start recommending the same band. So I don't know if it's like there's some Discord somewhere that's like everyone go spam in Drew's videos, or it just happens that they're very similar to other bands I've been listening to recently. The only thing I can think of is the fact that they might be similar to Thornhill and North Lane. I believe they are from Liverpool and they formed in 2014. I'm pretty sure. I'm not going to look too much into them because I'd like the kind of surprise factor of the whole thing, because I've never heard a single track from these guys as far as I'm aware. But on top of all the comments, they also won the Patreon poll that we had running over the last week or so. Shout out to everyone who voted on the poll. I know the Patreon is still in its infancy, so if you have not already got involved in the Patreon, I'd much appreciate if you could support. The Patreon will give you early access to these videos, so they'll be out 48 hours in advance. You'll also get access to these polls that I'm referring to choose the next albums that we do. And then on top of that, I've got some additional content that I'm not sure if I'm going to be uploading to YouTube just yet. They may go up late, like much later, but definitely after the Meshuggah concert on the 1st of June that I'm going to. So this video might actually be coming after that. So I'll be putting a podcast up. It will be video and audio of just me chatting about my experience. And that's just a kind of a taste of what kind of content you may be expecting going forward from the Patreon. So if that is something that you think you'd be interested in, or you just want to support the channel, then all the links will be in the description. Please do get involved. And yeah, without any further ado, we're going to jump in, lads. This one, from what I can see, is a short one. It's like 45 minutes long, which has been perfect over the last few weeks. The few albums that I've been doing have been quite short, you know, bite size, where you can just consume them without getting like exhausted by listening to like an hour-and-a-half album. So that's always nice. So without any further ado, lads, I'd like you to drop a like on this video, because I know this one's been a massive request over the last while. Make sure you're subbed to the channel, and without any further ado, let's throw the headphones on and get into it. Let's go. I don't think there's any lyrics to this one, so you'll have to forgive the software interface on screen down at the bottom. It looks a bit weird. Okay, I'm gonna do a quick pause, and I'm actually just gonna start this again. I want to hear this again. This sounds interesting to me. I want to understand what I'm going into here, because obviously the intro was just a theme. It was just called theme, and more of an atmospheric intro to kind of get you. To be honest, I half figured this is going to be an aggressive start. One, because the name is Aggressive Evolution, and two, generally when you get them kind of slow, you know, luring you into this false sense of relaxation, and then all of a sudden they'll slap you. So I kind of figured this was coming, but there was a lot of alien noises and shit going on, like a lot of crazy stuff going on. So let me bring it back and listen to that again. Lead vocalist straight away. I can see why Loathe started coming up now with North Lane. There's just similarities between Marcus Bridge and this vocalist straight off the bat. But let me start again and just take that all in, because there was a lot going on there. Yeah, remember I said about this video being nice and short? I think we're gonna make it a little bit longer because this is chaos. Let me just hear this section again. I'm going to bring that a little bit back so it fades more naturally. Had a smile on my face there for two reasons. Partly because I feel like that one's going to grow on me 100%. That breakdown's going to grow on me because it was so fucking unique. And two, I'm already thinking about the edits when the songs that are like choppy and changey and they have these like breakdowns and they swirl back into something else and then like, you know, they have all the glitchy sound effects, that is, you know, I love those kind of videos. I love those kind of tracks because it just gives me so much more, you know, freedom to play around with the edit. And I've already got some ideas. Now you'll already have seen them. I'm thinking something along the lines of Jurassic Park. There was a lot of dinosaur sounding moments in that. So, you know, I'm sure maybe I didn't even go ahead with that. But at the moment, I'm thinking like, right, how can I implement a dinosaur edit into this somehow? So you'll have to let me know if you enjoyed those edits because I'm sure that'll have a lot. But as for the music, I'm going to bring that back to that drop again. Okay, and I'll try not do this too much throughout the album because I do want to keep it as concise as possible within an hour roughly because I know anything over that and people just kind of lose interest. But yeah, let me go back. Let me go back, and we'll let it transition into this because it sounded like there was like some whispering going on there. So it's probably going to lead into the next track. So we'll bring it back. The amount of animals and reptiles and shit that I'm going to throw into this mix. There was a fucking grizzly bear thrown in there as well. Listen for the grizzly bear. I love the experimental nature. I believe this album came out in 2019. These guitars are tuned in such a way that they don't even sound like guitars. That's all I have to say. So many tempo changes as well. Okay, I think I'll pause again real quick. I'm going to like this. I know I like these two tracks, but because there's so many tempo changes and the signature sounds a little bit awkward as well, it's going in a lot of different directions, and for a first listen it's kind of hard to keep up with. But overall, sonically it sounds very good to me, but groove wise and rhythm wise I can't follow it at the moment, because like I said, there's that weird kind of snare pattern, and then it's changing so much, and I'm trying to listen to the vocals, and there's also like a barrage of fucking alien and zoo animal noises being flung at me, and there's all these like synthy like effects and whistle noises and all these glitchy sounds that are also being filtered through the mix as well. So there is a lot going on, to say the least, but I do like the sound. You know, sometimes I listen to something and I just know, I'm like, I can't find the rhythm and it just sounds shit to me. This sounds very, very nice. The mix does sound crazy, but it does sound nice. I like it, but I just need maybe a few listens for these tracks anyway. I'm sure there'll be different parts that'll make me be like, oh my god, this band sounds like it has the ability to provide some massive breakdowns, like really unique breakdowns, like I said, with all these weird noises that are being thrown in. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we actually got like a dinosaur to actually, you know, tee up a breakdown. They just randomly get I'm stuttering like a freak. I was trying to say, if they got like a T-Rex to, you know, they do like the call out for a breakdown, they just get some. I'll finish up. Two-way mirror. Have I heard this being recommended before, or is it just because Meshuggah have two-way mirror track? I'm pretty sure Meshuggah had a track called Two-Way Mirror on the Violent Sleep of Reason, and that's why it's in my head, maybe. A welcome change of pace. The last few albums I've done have been chaos. reminds me of Deftones. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say early doors that this track has, you can see I've liked it. I don't generally like tracks, but I might start doing it as part of the channel so you guys can actually kind of see, you know, what tracks I'm really fucking with. If they get liked, obviously they're going into the playlist and they'll continue in rotation. Obviously I'll listen to this album a few times. Generally I actually get a really good, you know, chance to really see if I like an album if I record a video on it and I'm not too sold on it. And then when I go back and edit the video, because I've been editing the entire albums, you kind of have to like play back through the album a good few times, because you're like editing one part and then going watching it back, and you're hearing the song multiple times over and over again in the edit. So the edit is a really good way of, you know, getting used to what tracks you do and don't like, and whether or not the album kind of resonates with you as a whole. Obviously there's some albums I've gone into editing and I just knew already that they're unbelievable because it's the first time I've heard it, but certain albums and certain tracks I'm like a little bit unsure of. So it's nice for you guys to know when I'm actually letting something click with me straight away or something's clicking with me straight away. So this, for example, will be a way you guys can actually see that, so I'll probably start doing that. But anyway, I did like this two-way mirror track. As you can see, I was going to say that this feels like one of those tracks on an album that would kind of get overlooked on the first few listens, but then it ends up being one of your favorite tracks on the album. Let me know if anyone else has had that experience with this album in particular. I know I'm only 3 tracks in, but this track has all the kind of hallmarks because it's not like any big massive breakdowns, but it does have that like Deftones, Chino Moreno, sexy metal kind of sound to it. So playlist for me, very accessible straight away. You know, I kind of knew it was coming. It felt almost nostalgic in a way. I don't know, maybe that's just because it does sound like Deftones, so I'm kind of thinking of Deftones, blah 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 blah. But the other 2 tracks were really cool and I can't wait to edit them, but I'll have to listen to them a few more times because, like I said, this, like, everything was just chaos in it, whereas this one was a lot more accessible. So yeah, first track that's probably, you know, really hit with me. So yeah, let's keep going. 451 days. Seems weird to have like an interlude or like a, what would you call it? This couldn't even be an interlude, it's too early. Like, it seems weird to have this right after that track, you know what I mean? Usually you get that kind of track and then go straight into something a little bit heavier. Okay, I found my moment. I got a little bit hung up there on the lyrics. I'm gonna bring it back because I seen my name mentioned. Now I had a read of it and I've kind of realized that it's probably not actually naming someone called Drew. It said follow directions Drew, as in drawn, but I seen follow directions Drew, and I was like, who's watching me? Oh God, where the fuck do I even start with a track like that? Oh my good Lord. I feel like I've just been violated, but in a fantastic way. Like I enjoyed that. Like fuck. As soon as I seen the lyrics beat me through the ground, I knew it was going to be something big. I knew it was going to be absolutely terrifying. I knew they were going to hit me with all the alien noises, but I would have never even come close to expecting what we just got. Yeah, as soon as I seen that lyric, Very like Darko US. Yeah, that really reminded me of Darko. A lot of the guitar riffs that Baby J is known for, and then some of the vocal segments in that outro part as well reminded me of Tom Barber. So yeah, a lot of Darko in that. Is this like a theme where they do one track and then like a instrumental atmospheric like short segment and then another track? Has that been the theme so far? They definitely didn't do it for the first two, but after the third track they had a like an interlude, and then we had the last track, and then we have this again. Never mind. A year or two ago I would have fucking hated this, but I'm already like coming around to it, so give me a few more listens. But yeah, like this is one of them tracks that I would have just been like, I don't get it, like there's no groove. So like I'm still a little bit like that, I know, granted, I'll hold my hands up to that, but oh, this one's called Screaming. It's never a good sign. Like I haven't like figured out their sound at all. They've reminded me of so many different bands. Like this sounds like something you'd hear on the radio. Yeah, they've already sounded like Darko US, Deftones. Who else do they sound like? The first two tracks reminded me a little bit like Meshuggah. so unpredictable. This kind of feels like the two-way mirror track as well. It's like one of them that maybe wouldn't get the credit on a first listen, but I feel like this will grow me a lot. This one does remind me of Deftones again. That sexy Gino Moreno vocal style. That screams Deftones to me, man. I can't help but hear it. I'm still just like, I'm a bit taken back by how all over the place this album is. It's absolutely chaos. There's seems to be no structure in terms of overall sound to it. It's just sounded so many different ways. But there's a lot of segments of this I've really enjoyed. I just need to kind of digest it over a few listens. But they do both the heavy and this style very well, so I'll give them that. They do remind me a lot of bands like I've already mentioned, but they also just sound like extremely unique, like really weird. Like a lot of sounds and shit they're making is stuff I've never even heard before. Very experimental, very experimental. When did this album come out? Let me double check. Okay, so it actually came out in 2020. I know earlier I said 2019. like I'm beating a dead horse, but it is Chino Moreno again. It reminds me a lot of him. Like, that's just so unique, like. Now, you may be wondering, Drew, why did you look at the camera there? How did you know that was going to happen? I've done enough of these videos to know when I'm about to get scalped. If a track comes on after two melodic sounding tracks, two slower paced tracks on an album that has already shown brutality, and if a track comes on directly after those two tracks and is called Gourd, and the first lyrics are "You'll break," and it started like that, I've been doing this long enough, and I got exactly what I knew was coming. And fuck me, did that deliver. What just happened? What just happened? I'm gonna have to pause it. That was a that track, right? Darko are a band that I respect dearly. I really like their whole vibe. I love their merch, their whole kind of how would you describe it? The whole aura and the whole, you know, not really theme or aura. I've been thinking about this word for a few seconds now, and I can't think of the word I'm looking for. But Darko have this like presence about them, you know. They have such a unique sound. They have this like relentlessly overpowering heavy nature with these screechy alien noises, disgusting vocals, like almost to the point where I actually don't really like the vocal side of things. Like I think Tom Barber is very, very talented, but this is kind of doing what Darko do with not as intense vocals. I know that's saying a lot because these vocals are very intense, but Darko take it to a new level where I actually can't understand a word that's being said. Now, in saying that, like, I really do fuck with Darko, but there's some things that I'm still not accustomed to where I'm kind of like, this sounds really good, but it's almost just like too chaotic for me to even figure out what's going on. This one is a little bit more structured. It almost feels like Darko with, not the whole band, not, to be honest, the album has sounded quite far from Darko, but when they do that, heavy, when they do the breakdowns and shit like that, when they have all that going on, they do really come close to a lot of Darko's music just because of how experimental they are with the industrial like alien noises that just get filtered throughout. Like sounds like a fucking car crash mixed with UFOs coming in and picking people up, and then there's just lasers and shit flying everywhere. That's what it feels like to actually listen to. So I'm getting Darko US vibes, but then the vocals aren't as intense for me. So I really fuck with that. That was, I mean, that's the best track on the album for me, without a doubt. There's been some fun ones on the album, but this one just felt like I knew it was coming from the start. I kind of got the payoff I wanted, whereas I couldn't figure out when anything was going to happen in the other tracks. So yeah, but we'll keep going. I've no idea. I know it's a short enough album, so we've been listening for quite a while. We've been through quite a good few tracks, but some of them are quite short. So I've no idea where we are in context of the whole album. So we'll just keep going. Heavy is the head that falls with the weight of 1,000 thoughts. What a fucking name. This is kind of like Lorna Shore, which you guys know my opinion on. I'm not the biggest fan of, but this motherfucker sounds like he has the fucking devil crawling out of his neck when he's screaming. He sounds like he's I don't know, he sounds like he's in the middle of projectile vomiting as he's fucking screaming. Like, it sounds so disgusting. And again, even that like almost record scratching sound, like it's a guitar. I'm pretty sure that's done like on a guitar, or I don't know if it's done like on effects or whatever. But that again reminds me of Darko. I hate to keep making the comparison, but sometimes the comparison just clicks. Like earlier when I was hearing Deftones, now all I can hear is Darko. But listen to how possessed he sounds in these vocals. Also, is this the same vocalist? Yeah, it's that back-in scratching noise sounds like Darko. Assuming there's only one vocalist as well. How do we get here? How did we just transition to this? How? I can't remember the last time I heard an acoustic track in any of the tracks I've reacted to on this channel, so that's saying a lot. That reverb and these chords and that reverb is just Deftones. I'm sorry. If anyone has any objections to that, let me know. It's like if Deftones specifically, no, I was going to say just Gina Moreno, but to be honest, the instrumental side of things when they get into this kind of vibe is Deftones all over. Has Deftones written all over it, okay? If Deftones, North Lane, Darko US, and did I mention anyone else? I probably did mention another band, but definitely Deftones, Darko US, and North Lane. If they all just combined and took like one artist from each band and put them all into the band together, I'm sure you'd get something that sounds similar to Loathe. This is a fucking Gina Moreno from Liverpool, lads. Sorry to any Scousers out there that I've just taken the piss out completely. you know what's actually a more realistic title for this? If Deftones were, if the whole band was abducted by aliens and they were sent back to Earth. What the fuck am I talking about? I think this might be the last track we're going into. Pretty sure. Wait, what? Okay, never mind. There is one more track after this, which is the title track, so. Interesting to see if they're going to go out with a bang. That sounds so cool. Final track and the title track, so this should be big. they're one of them bands that I can't fully trust with the headbang, right? I like can't fully commit to anything because they change everything so quickly and just so erratically. I think I said erratically. I'm pretty sure it's sporadically. Oops. My breakdown senses are tingling. My album outro senses are tingling. I guess my breakdown senses were tingling for the wrong reasons. But that does conclude the album. So I've had a few minutes to collect my thoughts and just look into the comparisons that I made throughout the video and just see if there was any, merit to what I was saying. And first of all, I wanted to see if there was any possibility that these guys were kind of young enough to potentially have started this band having listened to Deftones growing up. So I looked into it, and I think they formed in 2014, if I'm not mistaken. I seen that originally. Where did it say that? Yeah, 2014. And so when I looked into, the lead singer is Francis Keane, I believe is his name. Let me just double check that as well. Sorry, Kadeem France. Kadeem France is his name. So I looked up what age he was, and all I could find was that he was one of the founders of Loathe, and he started when he was 19. So that's what, 2014. So I mean, there's scope there for him to have like grown up listening to Deftones, and that may be where, he's taken some influence. And then even further beyond that, I typed in Deftones, Loathe, and lo and behold, here's an article from New Fury Media, and the headline is Deftones vocalist Chino Moreno praises Loathe again, says Two-Way Mirror is better than all your stupid music, including mine. The UK's Loathe have certainly released some of the year's most compelling music in any genre, with their sophomore effort, I Let It In, already hailed as one of the year's most exciting records. One wonders what the band could do to gain any more traction. Well, they've clearly got Deftones vocalist Chino Moreno in their corner, as you might remember. You'll of course note that Moreno had high praise for the song when it was released at the beginning of last year, and that's before the band's sophomore album dropped on Sharptone Records as well. Well, it appears that Moreno's been piqued by Loathe's song Two-Way Mirror yet again, saying in a since deleted tweet, "This song is still better than all your music, including mine. Fuck with me." So, I mean, it could just be that he likes the music, but there's obviously been like a lot of comparisons made to Chino Moreno and Deftones, which I feel like I'm warranted in saying that now. I was kind of like, am I just hearing things? But that kind of reinforces that thought to me. As for everything else, Darko, obviously a newer band on the scene. They have a lot of unique, polarizing tracks, to say the least. They do tracks like Donna, which is obviously a lot slower, and you can almost nearly hear the slower tracks that Darko do sound a little bit like the slower tracks that Loathe do as well. It's almost like a mixture of Darko and then Deftones with their sexier style. I also heard a lot of North Lane as well, and that does kind of tie back into why these guys have all of a sudden been recommended quite a lot. Now that I think back, I believe people were saying that Alien was like album of the year, or you know, widely considered as album of the year for 2019, and then everyone was like, you got to check out the 2020's album of the year, which was Loathe, I Let It In, and it, what's it called again? I Let It In, and it's a fucking mad weird name. I Let It In, and it took everything. So yeah, overall, if I had to give my own thoughts, oh my fucking god, I'm 25 having voice cracks like that. Overall, if I had to give my own thoughts and conclude, one, it's one of these albums, and I hate saying this because it's just kind of like, it's a throwaway comment when it comes to like giving my overall thoughts, but this is one of them albums that needs to be consumed more than once. It needs to be listened to a good few times before you can give a, you know, a concrete answer. But obviously you're not going to wait around for me to watch the video fucking or watch the whole album 5 times and do reactions 5 times. So for me right now, the album feels, and this is out of context of the actual, you know, lyrical content of the track. I haven't really paid attention to the lyrics, so there could be some thematical confluence there between the actual progression of the instrumentation and, you know, the actual songs as well as the lyrics. So I could be a little bit off the mark here, but my assessment of how it felt like it was a little bit all over the place. I couldn't really get into any sort of rhythm with the album or any like relaxation into it or flow with the album, because I felt like the first 2 tracks were chaos and like really in my face. I was kind of expecting that for a lot of the album, and then we get like a small break, and then it would go into something that sounded like, you know, Deftones, that was really slow paced and relaxing, and then it would snap you out of it into something crazy, and then it would go back to like 2 relaxing songs again, and then it would snap you back out of that and hit you with something huge, and then it would like make you think something huge is going to happen, and then it didn't happen. So it was kind of like this back and forth of like loving what I was hearing, but also like not really finding any sort of like progression forward. I just felt like it didn't feel like an album piece put together, if that makes sense. Again, I'll have to do my own research into it, look into the actual tracks and what the context of the tracks are. Now, they may be completely irrelevant, and it might just be, you know, I may never come around to that feel of it. But for example, with The Dark Pool by Thornhill that I just recently checked out, it felt like it, from, you know, it started here and finished here, and it kept you on this line the whole way. You know, it was just groovy, it was bouncy, it was, you know, it kept me engaged all the time. Not to say that I wasn't engaged by this, but it was just a different kind of engagement where I'm almost like thinking too much about it, whereas instead of just like, you know, letting go, I was like trying to like figure out what their sound is and what I was hearing, maybe overanalyzing it instead of just actually just listening to it, you know, and sitting back and chilling out. But it is a little bit hard in this context with, you know, the video and everything like that. So I think those are my thoughts right now. Maybe at some point later in the year, I'll do a come back around to all the albums that we have checked out over the past few months and do like a roundup, because I know it can be hard to give my initial thoughts after one listen, because you know yourself, sometimes you'll listen to an album a few times and you'll just be like, and then you'll hear one track off it again, you'll be like, you know what, I'll spin that album again, and then all of a sudden you start clicking with all the other tracks. So it's a little bit like that at the moment for me. There is some huge tracks that I'll be going back to straight away. Two-Way Mirror, we've already discussed, obviously, with the Chino Moreno reference, but that was the first track, like track number 4 it was, but obviously the first track on the album doesn't really count because it was just called Theme, and you know, it didn't actually have any lyrics or anything like that, like a minute long. But the first track that kind of caught my attention, well, not caught my attention because the first 2 tracks most certainly did catch my attention, but the one that got playlisted was the Two-Way Mirror track, just because it did, you know, catch me off guard. I wasn't expecting to hear anything like Deftones, but that was a nice track to listen to. And then the one that really got me, now again, the other ones are kind of all blurred into one at this point, but Gourd sticks out like a sore thumb. That was everything I could have wanted from a metalcore. Would you even call this metalcore? It's like alien core at this point. I don't even know. It's a completely new sound to me. Metal has gone down this like crazy route. Like yesterday I was talking to my uncle, who's like he'd be more into kind of rock music, I suppose, older school rock, and I was kind of talking to him about the bands I enjoy these days, and he was asking me to try and describe some of the bands that I listen to, or how would I even describe a lot of the music. And I was kind of just like, you know, when someone actually puts that kind of question to you, you're like, hold on a minute, I actually don't know. So this would be one of those bands that I'd be like, how do I describe Loathe to someone? But for some reason it just slaps. But anyway, to go back to my point, Gourd was the standout track on the album for me. Like, it was just an absolute wave of synth, alien, breakdown, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Insert adjective here. It was insane. Really looking forward to going back and editing this video now and throwing in all the fun edits. And, you know, I'm going to have so much fun. All these glitchy dinosaur or fucking zookeeper sounds. What am I talking about? Zookeeper, animal sounds. But yeah, lads, I'm going to wrap this video up. If you did enjoy, please do drop a like on the video. Let me know what you'd like to see next. I'm also going to run a new poll on Patreon to get the next album running. So if you are not a part of the Patreon, then please do get involved, lads. Like I said, I am going to try and get exclusive content out on the Patreon as well, whether it just be like guitar updates or just, you know, not even like a day in the life kind of thing, just any updates that I maybe wouldn't put into a full video. I'll do a podcast for the Meshuggah live show as well. That may already be out if you're watching this video after the 1st of June. I'm going to try and get that one out fairly quickly. It's just going to be like a raw podcast style video where I go through my experience at the show. So I'll probably, you know, if that goes well and people enjoy that, I might even do that, you know, small episodes and see how they go on the Patreon, and then upload them to YouTube if there's a good feedback on them. So if you do want to get access to all of that, then please do go over to patreon.com/Drew Fortune. All the links will be in the description. Or even if you don't care about the additional bonus content, then you just want to help out the channel, helps me upgrade all the lighting, put a lot of money out of my own pocket into the channel again, which I don't mind doing at all. Obviously the new microphone equipment, the new camera equipment, all this lighting and stuff. I want to get new backlighting, and yeah, so there's a lot to be done, but I'm looking forward to getting through it. And I'm also looking forward to getting to a lot of new albums that you guys are recommending. So guys, thank you as always for watching. I'm signing out. Take care of yourselves. See you in the next one.